both kind of said, well, look, it's a thriller, but again, everyone then goes, right, it's a thriller. Let's have all this dark electronica going on. So I was like, okay, well, look, how can we do all of this? And then I read the script. And
Yeah.
for the first time, having said I'm reading scripts, I read this and I was going, it is a thriller, but it's not actually about the Strangler. It's about Keira Knightley, who's
Yeah.
journalist, Loretta, and Carrie Coon, who's Jeannie. And basically, Loretta was a journalist, and it's based on a true story. She was a journalist, and she cracked the Boston Strangler case, or cases. But she was a woman in the
Yeah.
60s, and it's like, what are you doing in a newsroom? Let alone what are you doing out in the kitchen? And
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
it really was like that, and it's so poignant. Even now, you kind of think, God, it's really of its moment. And
Yeah.
it's, so she was beating everybody, whether it's the Boston Police Department, which was full of men, the
Yeah.
journalists, which were full of men. She had to try and get them on side. She couldn't, so she was like, screw this, I'm going to go do it myself. And so for me, it was like, that's what the story is. It's
That's
about,
the story. That is the story, not the psycho killer.
yeah.
You know, but that is the story, you know. So
But obviously, it's going to be about the Strangler because it's called the Boston Strangler. But fundamentally, I was like, well, look, how do we score Loretta? And Loretta isn't the darkness of the Strangler. Loretta is this relatively innocent person to begin with. So I
yeah,
was like, look, let's have a really intimate sound for her. Let's have the, let's have the piano. Let's have a quartet. Let's have something that's really close. We'll have a motif for her, and then that motif gradually comes in different ways during the score and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and faster and faster and faster and keeps momentum going. But it is in essence a talkie. It's just a talking head movie. So you can't have this big off, boom, here's the Strangler, boom, 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 because there's so much dialogue on it. So similarly, I was like, well, look, the piano is a nice kind of gentle sound, but it's also very Loretta. And then as that goes along, she's got that quartet on it.
yeah,
And then the Strangler was going to be, this is in my head anyway, every time she sees the Strangler, it was going to be the big off orchestra. But then it's like, well, when the two come together, and I've told you this before, but it's like, I described it as Pac-Man. It's like, here's Loretta going along, and then gradually as she meets the Strangler, that's the big off thing. But it's playing exactly the same part half the time.
yeah,
And then when they're playing the same thing and they're meeting, who's in charge? If the Strangler's in charge, he's louder in the mix and he's swamping the piano and quartet. And when Loretta's in charge, the piano and quartet, which had just been by herself, and suddenly she's seeing the Strangler and that's getting louder and louder and louder. And then she swallows the Strangler. So it's like, Pac-Man is my intellectual argument for a score, which is probably not very good.